a real privilege and an honor to have the man they call the bully. But Amal, I'm telling you, he's a really nice guy. You just don't want to get into an
I got to tell you right now, I'm already offended by the nickname because when we just spoke to him during the commercial break, seemed like one of the nicest people we've had on.
There he is, Ricardo Lamas, everybody, one of the baddest men on the planet at 145 pounds. Joins us now to break down everything for UFC 280 over there in Abu Dhabi. Ricardo, great to catch up with you, my friend. I do want to talk about it. We've been talking about it all week, and obviously Charles Oliveira, a guy you know very well, back in there for the title shot against Islam Makhachev at 155 pounds. You're the last guy to beat him at 145, so not a lot of people can have that feather in their cap. You know what it's like to fight him and to be victorious. What does Makhachev have to do in order to get the crown that a lot of people think is going to be his after Saturday night?
Well, you know, he's got to kind of weather the ground storm that's going to come at him, especially if he's looking. When I think of Islam Makhachev, you know, we think of the Khabib style of fighting where he's going to take his opponent down and just wear them out on the ground. But he's got to be careful in that first round if he takes it to the ground early. Charles Oliveira is very slick on the ground. He's got very long limbs, which makes him easy to kind of tie up his opponent and get those anaconda chokes that he likes to get on people. So he's got to be very careful shooting in on him, number one. He's got to finish the right way. He's got to defend some of the submission attempts at first. And I think the longer it goes on the ground, the more it's going to move into Islam's favor. So if he can kind of shut down Charles's game, what we've seen in the past is Charles kind of beating himself mentally and then comes out losing the fight. You know, in my fight with him, I kind of had to do the same thing. First round, he came out really strong. He ended up on top of me. He went for a few submissions that I was able to fight out of. Second round, I came back and pulled off a submission of my own. So if he can do kind of the same thing and weather that storm and defend against the submissions and kind of break Oliveira mentally first, I think that's what he has to do to win this fight.
It's a great point because, and Amal, you know this in boxing too as well, you're trying to break mentally your opponent, right? You were able to do that to Charles Oliveira. Now, Oliveira has not been the same guy, right, since he moved up to 155 pounds. Do you notice a different air about him, even though he's not technically the champion because he missed weight in Arizona, but yet he still walked through Justin Gaethje there? Do you look at Oliveira differently now that he has a champion's mentality?
Yeah, 100%. Oliveira is one of those guys that came into the UFC very young. He was forced to kind of grow up in the UFC and swim with the Sharks his entire career. So you could see that evolution of his game physically and mentally throughout his career in the UFC. And each time he comes up, like when he fought Michael Chandler, I'm like, oh man, you know, Michael Chandler's too heavy of a hitter for him. He's going to get hit once and it's going to be over. But we see him battle through adversity now. We see him get dropped in these fights and come back and still win. So, you know, if Islam Makhachev gets an opportunity to finish this fight, he's got to take it and he has to finish it because it's getting harder and harder to break Oliveira mentally.
Yeah, a potential 5-round fight over there, obviously in Abu Dhabi tomorrow in the main event. I want to go to the other title fight on this card here. Aljamain Sterling now, minus $1.75, betting favorite against TJ Dillashaw. Dillashaw plus $1.50 here. Look, Dillashaw's trying to be a 3-time champion in this division, in the bantamweight division, but we know it's not without controversy. Some bouts with USADA, suspended from the sport. He is back now. What do you make of that? Is that a mental hurdle for TJ going, I got to prove not only that I'm still one of the best at 135 pounds, but I got to prove that I'm a clean fighter in the process?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I think he still has to prove himself. Even in his last fight against Sandhagen, I think I'm not the only one, but I saw Sandhagen winning that fight. You know, fortunately the decision went TJ's way and he came out with the win, but he took kind of a beating in that fight. So he has to prove it, I think, to himself and to everybody else that he can be at the top clean. And until he wins that title and all his tests come back clean, you know, there's always going to be that question mark in the air.
And, you know, that's something that Amal and I have talked about here in both sports. And I do give a lot of credit to Dana White for bringing in USADA testing to try to clean up the sport. He didn't have to do it. Ricardo, you know this very well. Conversely, when you look at Aljo here, he had those 2 fights with Peter Yan. The first one, controversially, he wins because of a illegal strike by Yan. I thought the second fight, it really showed what Aljo can do, not just with the wrestling. We know what a great wrestler he is, but he's not necessarily deficient with his hands. Does it have to be a wrestling contest for Aljo to remain the champion?
I think it would be in his best interest. I mean, we see Aljo do best when he gets control of his opponent. He gets that backpack position. He's got the body triangle on him, and he just wears his opponents down and just wins round after round. I think this fight will kind of come down to the wrestling and who's going to get their takedown off first. I think TJ Dillashaw is a little more well-rounded than Aljamain when it comes to the stand-up and mixing the striking with his takedowns and his grappling. But that's not to say that Aljamain can't out-grapple TJ Dillashaw if he's on the offense and he gets his takedowns off.
Yeah, so the champ right now, a solid favorite here, minus $1.75. And again, the two-time former champion, TJ Dillashaw, trying to get his belt back. Again, maybe the most compelling non-title fight is the fight that will precede these two title fights. And that is Peter Yan, who, again, had his shots against Aljamain Sterling and came up short. And now he's going to take on the Sugar Show. And, Ricardo, what's fascinating to me is the betting public loves Sean O'Malley. And this number has gone way down to plus 225. I mean, you know what this style is going to be. O'Malley wants to keep this thing standing and show that clean striking. And I'm assuming Peter Yan wants to utilize that wrestling. Does he get into a trap here where he goes, you know what? I can strike with Sean O'Malley. Would that be fool's gold for Peter Yan in this fight?
No, I think striking is kind of Peter Yan's bread and butter. I mean, we saw him do very well against Jose Aldo, who's an amazing striker and has been for a very long time. We've seen him, take out Uriah Faber with his striking too. Peter Yan is not going to be afraid to mix it up on the feet with Sugar Sean O'Malley. I think he's going to close the distance. I think this is going to be a test for Sean O'Malley, not for Peter Yan, in my opinion.
Okay, so if you like the favorite here at minus 265, how would Sean pull the upset? Does it have to be, obviously, not just the striking? Because if you think Peter Yan actually might have the striking advantage, is it those kicks? Because I think with O'Malley, sometimes we don't know what to truly expect inside that octagon.
Yeah, I think that's one of Sean O'Malley's attributes in this fight is his, you don't know what's coming. He's very kind of elusive. He's very fast. He's very twitchy. So he needs to use that. He needs to fight his style and not get drawing into the slow kind of Muay Thai style of Peter Yan, where you're standing in front of each other and just trying to take each other's heads off. So, yeah, I'll give it to Sugar Sean O'Malley that he is very dynamic. And his grappling is also very underrated, too. So if he can catch Peter Yan on the floor or Peter Yan kind of in transition of a takedown and get him in a guillotine. I mean, he submitted Takanori Gomi in a jiu-jitsu match, which is a huge feather in his cap. So I wouldn't sleep on Sean O'Malley's grappling.
Got about 45 seconds to go. I need official winners in the two title fights here. First, Aljamain Sterling against TJ Dillashaw. Bully, who are you going with?
Man, if I'm being pressed, I want to see Sterling win. But I think that TJ Dillashaw might pull it out.
Ooh, live at plus $1.50. Okay, Islam Makhachev against the guy you beat, Charles Oliveira, who wins at 155 pounds.
What kind of father doesn't want to root for his son? I'm going to go for Charles Oliveira to win this fight.
Rooting for his son, the bully, the one and only. Ricardo, enjoy the fights, my friend. We'll catch up again soon.
See you guys later.
There he is, Ricardo. How about that?
I love that answer.
He baptized Charles Oliveira back in the day. And we cannot confirm nor deny that he's going to come back into action. He's staying retired right now, so he says.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.